Heidi ho, everyone, and welcome aboard. It's good to have you. As always, it is a Thursday, the second Trading Buddy show of the year, and the first quiz of the year upcoming in the not too distant future. Sure, you'll be ready for that. Hope you've done your homework during the week. Few questions to ask before we go too much further, but I'll wait for a few more people to come into the room before I do ask those questions. First up, let's take a look as usual then at what the pound's doing and if we can trade a US. Make that UK, as in London session, breakout. I hope you can see my correct screen. I'm getting a weird message here. Don't know why. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so for those of you new to the show, welcome to you. What we attempt to do here on a Monday and a Thursday on a regular basis, that is all the time, is look for a breakout of the first candle of London session. Now, what that means is we need to find a range. And if we have a range that's acceptable to us on pound US dollar, I'm talking about only on a 1 hour chart. If we find a range that's acceptable to us, and there are a few rules around that I won't go in depth into right now, but essentially we're looking for a trade that gives us a decent 1-to-1 ratio in the first instance and then turns into a trend, thereby giving us something that is fruitful at the end of the day. At this point in time, I seem to be losing people out of the room. I don't know what's going on. And I think I'm the host by now. Sorry, guys. There seems to be a technical, maybe there's not, maybe they've just gone. No, they're still coming in. All right, so we're attempting to find that first move in London session that gives us a clear break of a trading range. Now, the trading range is over the previous 24-hour period, plus what's already happened in the current day. So previous 24-hour period, as you can see, there was a clear breakout, which has now gone into range, and an attempted breakout is underway as we speak. It makes it extremely difficult, of course, to trade a breakout, as you would understand, because there's already been two. So we don't want to be involved in that. I would definitely not like to be trading this as a breakout at the moment, because of that reason. It's already broken once, it's already broken or potentially broken twice. We've got an untested daily pivot from yesterday, current untested daily pivot from today. If the breakout were to happen, that's well and good. It can go without me. But I'm not trading a breakout trade on pound versus US dollar today. Okay, a few people coming into the room now. Firstly, two questions. Number one, and probably the most important question, apart from the quiz, of course, that's upcoming, is, did you listen to Happy New Year, Swee? Great to have you in, of course. And you weren't in on Monday, I don't believe. Otherwise, you would wish me Happy New Year. Did you listen to Cows with Guns? That is the number one most important thing this week to ask. And I'm not, maybe I've preempted the quiz, I don't know. But if I have, then so be it. Ash, g'day, buddy.
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
And what did you think?
It's very funny, mate. Yeah, very funny. It's quite nice because obviously I haven't eaten farmed meat for quite some time, so I it kind of it definitely suited me. I quite liked it.
It's funny, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant.
Cows well hung.
Yeah.
So there you go. If you didn't,
who's the kung fu? Or is it Cal? I can't remember.
Cowabung.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, very good, mate. Yep.
So
potentially a little trade on the 30 coming in, mate. Short.
Right, take it away.
Let me just make sure it's going to be okay. But let me put this.
Wow, I'm assuming short. Looking at the pound.
It is a short. It is a short. Now I'm just going to double check something. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. So just going to put it on my end. I've gone short, just so everybody knows, full disclosure, and then I will share my screen. There we go. Right. Sorry, I've got to get. I'm I'm still waiting for. I got a new computer, and it unfortunately doesn't work with my screens because it is new. So it only seems.
Glad you added with my screens. So if it just left it doesn't work, then that seems to be money wasted.
Well, what I've had to do is buy some more screens, buy another screen.
Yep.
Which I'm okay with. You know, it's pretty good because I've ordered one of those ultra wide monitors to come in instead of having lots and lots of screens. I've gone for the ultra wide so I can kind of like split windows
Divide it,
in a similar way, but in one with just less leads and less mess and everything else. But it means that currently I'm working off my laptop, and even though I've got two screens, I've got another screen set up. It's very small, and
that's actually a good idea. I might do that. I've got 5 screens, and I've got a swivel all the time.
Yeah, do you know if you've got if you've got a big enough desk, which I don't think mine's wide enough, my desk, but it's not quite deep enough. But there's a Samsung 49-inch monitor. And it's a beast, and I actually ordered that initially, and then I measured my desk because I'm not going to be able to get that, so I've had to go down to a 34, which will probably give me 2.5, maybe 3 kind of windows relatively comfortably. But if you think about how we scan, you know, we do scan from left to right, so to have it all on one screen, because my screens were stacked on top of each other, one on top of the other, but now they're not. You know, now it's going to be nice and wide. Sorry, mate. Let's quickly get to this trade. So here's the short.
Yeah, okay. Something important. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the short. I've got a few positions on with the trade here, and we'll look around sort of some of the barometers, but you can see that that there is just a little lower high going on here on the 15-minute chart, and here's the trend line just in there. So I kind of need it under the trend line really. There is a pivot up here as well, which I can probably do that with. There we go. There's the pivot there. So just trading off the pivot. Now let's see where we think it may go. And I've got a pretty tight area here. Now the reason I've gone for, it's around about, it'd be about 20 pips below where we are. And the reason I've gone for that is when we look at this on the hourly, we can probably just about see that, that as we drag across, maybe that the hourlies they're going to take too long to look at. 4 hourlies better. You can see that looks like a level of support there. So price has come down and nearly touched that, but it just rejected it. There's also a weekly pivot down here, which it may well get to. You know, it might be the weekly pivot that it manages to touch today. But it might just be able to get down to that. Sorry, I'm going to look for this support. Second support line is going to be here. Next one's going to be here. I don't think it's going to break down necessarily, but I do think that that the market could come down. There's also a trend line along here as well. So lots of stuff, much deeper to aim for, depending on your strategy. I'm going for first contact, but but people don't have to do that. You know, if you think that this is going to go a little bit further, then by all means don't worry about first contact. Just go for one of these points here. Weekly pivot looks like the most obvious, and it would look particularly obvious if it's got to around about. Let me just move this Zoom thing out of the way. Make this this chart a bit smaller so I can see the times here. Looks like towards the end of the day. If the price was coming down, it would potentially meet the trend line and the weekly pivot. Now there might be, let me just check this one. No, that's no good. Yeah, that's going to be it there. So it might be the trend line and the weekly pivot. Now, of course, it could just go a lot higher. And if it was to go higher, the area I've got marked off for the strength in the market is going to be probably. Let's do it on the weekly up here. So it looks like around about another 100 pips to the upside before we get any more of a deep retracement. But I think because today we do have, as I say, we do have this little lower high going on with a 15. We've got a few kind of signals that the market's just a bit tepid. It's not weak, but it's just a bit tepid this morning. And because it's a bit tepid, I think a short may well play out. So that's the trade there, mate. The silver trade that we've been waiting for to take off for a while has now taken off, and I'm now in silver as well. I've got into silver down here at the lows when it came back down again. I managed to get a little buy in there. So silver's now on its way to the upside. Looks like it may well get stuck here. I have actually taken a bit of profit off this trade. It might well get stuck here and then potentially retrace back down again, because we're getting fairly close to these highs. It might be a little bit higher. It might even be at 23.47. So could be 20 cents more on silver, and then we might see a little bit of a retracement. And what I'm going to do is I've got, I had multiple positions. I've taken profit, and I'm going to look for a retracement back down again, and I'll buy back in again, and I'll probably look to buy back in around about this level here. So it's going to be maybe 2266, 2270, something like that. Looks like a pretty strong level along here. There's resistance, there's resistance, there's resistance, there's resistance, support. So if this comes back down and tests this level around about 2260 to 2265, then I'm going to put the positions back on again, because this is my overall target on silver, which is around about the $25 mark. So bond yields going up doesn't help necessarily, but I think that that the gold and silver trade is now on its way, and I think the dollar has got a little bit further to run to the downside before it starts to find some support. It's on a support level here, but I don't see why the dollar can't get just down that little bit lower and actually find this resistance support, support there. I don't see why we couldn't find this level again at 93.50.
Just looking at my level there.
Yeah, and if that was to do that, and obviously that as you quite rightly pointed out, pound on its way up today, and the pound's on its way up because the dollar's on its way down. Not particularly good for the FTSE, and I'm not sure whether that will make a huge difference. I don't see major weakness in the FTSE, but it is tepid, and I do think the FTSE is coming down today, just to kind of ease to the downside. I think is potentially on. So that is the way I'm seeing the market, mate. I'll tell you what, the other thing that I think is interesting is the NASDAQ. I think the NASDAQ is back on for the short. We see that the NASDAQ back on at this weekly pivot. It may well get to the monthly before it really does dive down sufficiently and significantly. Dollar weakening helps the NASDAQ, of course, but inflation numbers are still really hot. I mean, we had the CPI data yesterday, and we had the market have a bit of a boost from the CPI number. I thought it was a bit odd, if I'm honest. I mean, I kind of looked at the print that came out, and I thought it was a strange reaction. So let's have a quick look at that, because this was a print. This was the print on the CPI data. Where are you going to come in for me? So from yesterday, why have I got nothing? That suggests that there is. I tell you, mate, it's weird for me trading off a laptop. You know, it's
yeah, it's a bit distasteful after having a full range of facilities available, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a bit disabling in many respects. I mean, fortunately, you know, I know what I'm looking at, but still, you know, it's just I find it all a bit too small. You know, here's the CPI print. So 0.5% now. It was a beat of expectation, a slight drift lower, which I think is the reason why there was a boost in the market, but still elevated. You know, the CPIs can't continue to accelerate at this kind of rate without there being problems. So I think the NASDAQ ultimately comes down. I think the dollar ultimately goes up. And we haven't really seen those bond yields. As I say, those bond yields haven't come down just yet. So I think there could be some problems down the road for some of these equities. But as I say, wonder whether we might see that monthly pivot before we actually do dive to the downside. So I'm not trading the Nasdaq lower, but I think it will get there eventually.
Yeah, a little bit of a setup there as a double cross on is that the weekly pivot? The white one?
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? Looks like there could be something going on. Weekly and daily are met in the same place right now.
Yeah, it could well get up to that monthly pivot before it goes short. I agree with that. That looks interesting. A little bit of hint of an inverted head and shoulders there as well. Neckline break, perhaps.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, I've got an order in the market. Actually, I've been triggered into that order. I better show you that as I go through the stuff that I was looking at for the week. We good to go with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, it's Euro pounds. I had a bit of a liking would be the word for Euro pound long this week, and it's pretty much bang on entry there at the moment. I'm actually trading this bar here. Now, had I been alert enough to be in front of the charts when this bar was printed, then that would have been a far better entry there. Or as it turns out, it would have been a far better entry there. Not sure I would have taken that, to be fair, but and the reason is it does have a green body, and I like to trade red bodies long, not green bodies long, albeit very, very small body. But it does look to be a potential higher low based on one false break, two false breaks of the bottom side of that range. There's also more than a hint of a descending triangle here. So false break to the low side of that, false break to the low side of that. Maybe we get a false break to the upside of that. And it is unusual for me to be trading this, to be fair. I would much rather have waited for a breakout of that level and a retest of that level. However, the slingshot candle patterns are telling me warning 1, warning 2, warning 3. This could well explode and get up there to the weekly pivot. I've got TP1 around about the DR1 mark, and it's just on entry there at the moment. If you're interested in following it, the entry level is 83.52. I've been slipped 0.7 of a pip. I've got a stop loss at 83.41, and I'm taking my first profit at 83.58. Okay, that is Euro pound.
Yeah, the further pressure on Boris Johnson, mate. You know, we were talking about the pound the other day, weren't we? And what could potentially drive it. Lots. I mean, he's under so much pressure. We had this New Year's Eve party, bring your own bottle New Year's Eve party, and it's been discovered, and the backlash is pretty fierce. Opposition. It's
like off goes your head and on goes a pumpkin when you do stuff like that, right?
Yeah, do you know, this is the thing about Boris Johnson. You know, he is relatively bulletproof. However, inevitably, things do eventually catch up. You know, that there's as soon as he starts effectively making policy, inevitably there is going to be a certain area of the public that are going to have dissatisfaction with that particular policy. And because he is the way he is, because he does buffoon around, then all of a sudden that starts to become the main focus. And we're going to have some situation now where they may not call it austerity, but there will be some austerity kicking in. You know, there's going to be a fallout here with prices. And I think Boris Johnson is getting the main vitriol because of it. Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, is being called to kind of take the hot seat of PM. Whether they can appoint a PM within the party without there being huge pressure from the country to have an election, I don't know. And I suppose this is the problem. This is why we see uncertainty.
They can do that here very easily and do it regularly.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can do it. They can do it, but I don't know whether they definitely get away with it. I don't know. It's difficult. So if either party would do it, it would be the Conservative Party, and I don't think that they would probably want to give up the reins this easily. But it would appear that that Boris Johnson is under sufficient pressure, and it would also appear that particular pressure could create enough uncertainty in the market to drive the pound lower against everything else that isn't the dollar, effectively.
Yeah, it looks, although against the CAD, it looks as though it might have a little bit of a rally there, but against the Aussie, it's crashing. Against the dollar, of course, everything against the dollar at the moment is strong. And look, I liked your analysis on the dollar. What I see on that myself, if I can find that chart, is it's probably got a little bit to go.
Yeah.
And I see exactly that level you're seeing. It's right where price is at the moment, that support level. And the next level I see, a very, very strong one, is, I can't even read that because it's red. Crikey. I think it's 92 something, 15, maybe 20. I see that as still possible before we go to there, of course. But I do see this as a pretty much a buy zone at the moment.
Yeah, do you know what was interesting as well, mate, is that just before that CPI news was out, I looked at the bond yields, and the bond yields were right on resistance. You know, they were around about the 170 on the 10-year, 175 on the 10-year. And it was right on resistance. Now, COT data suggests that the 10-year is a buy, which means that bond yield should be coming down. And seasonally, we see the 10-year as a particular, as a grinding buy at this particular time of year as well. So it doesn't fit when you see the 10-year T-bill with COT data very, very strong, actually. Seasonality very, very strong, or at least a grind higher. You see the yields at a level of resistance, which probably puts the 10-year at a level of support. I didn't check that part out, but I did check the yields that were at resistance. You see a dollar, which is potentially weakening as well. And this is the thing. The 10-year yield going higher strengthens the dollar. So when you see both of those, the dollar was also at a resistance point. You see resistance on the dollar, resistance on the yield. You see support with the actual bond with COT data and seasonality. And it suggested that this would happen. Even before that CPI print was coming out.
Interesting.
Next week, I'd like to see whether that does change. But it does suggest that the dollar could actually grind a bit lower for a little while. The dollar is also very weak on the COT data as well. So
okay.
So we could see a little bit of a relief now, but completely with the overall picture, the dollar's going higher, and it may be that it's kicked down the road. We know that the first rate hike is going to be around March time. We heard Jerome Powell the other day, and he's saying that he will do what he needs to do to contain inflation. And the market seemed to like what he said, but I don't know why, because he's effectively saying the same thing. We're looking at 4 rate hikes this year, and the first one is going to be in March. Is that going to be nearer the trigger? Now, I was saying last year that I see the NASDAQ really coming down around about the February, March time. And I still think that's probably going to happen. I think that the NASDAQ could well float around for a while. That pushes the dollar higher. That pushes other assets that are related to the dollar lower, namely the NASDAQ and potentially the S&P as well, being dragged down by the tech stock. So I think the flip is coming, but I think we might have a couple of weeks before that happens.
Yeah, charts. I'm just looking at the S&P there. That's interesting. Can't trade it though. That's a candle I'd like to trade short, to be fair. But yeah, you've got support dead set underneath you and a big reversal bar there. On Monday? Yeah, not for me. I'll stay clear of that one. I've got a few ideas, but
yeah, you got some ideas.
Yeah, let's see. Let's have a look. And the second question of the day, apart from the cows with guns question, was, guys, what have we traded this week? Has anybody traded anything interesting? Have you had a good trade? Have you had a trade that didn't go your way and you'd like to question that? Ask us. We might be able to help.
Yeah, that's a good idea, mate. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Because we
yeah,
haven't seen you since Monday.
No, we haven't. No, let's have a little chat about trading. Is it, how's everybody getting on with their journey so far, and has anything changed this year? As I say, I've changed my my journal, mate. I'm now looking to do. I suppose it's just more planning. You know, my time is now spent more on the plan side than it is on the retrospective side. You know, I could have done this differently or anything else. So I don't know how everybody else is behaving this year.
Interesting. Yeah, let's find out. If you've got something to contribute to that, let's hear it. Okay, so we started the week with 3 game-changing bars. Aussie Yen for a short. Had you traded that per se, and I suggested that you didn't because the risk to reward was very poor, you would be in a world of pain right now. I'm not giving up on that because that's still there. It hasn't changed. It hasn't been taken out. But I think here's the best way to play these game changer bars unless there is clear reward underneath the bar. And is just wait until it either A, sets up to your style of trading or the way you get into the market, or B, takes out the high of the week. And once it's done that, don't worry about it. But whilst ever it's there, I'll still be looking for that. And the best way for me to trade this is still going to be, as normally the case, a false break of resistance. So if we can get up to here or even a bounce off their lower high, still works for me. So Aussie Yen can still come down, in my humble opinion, despite the fact that we're getting higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. Still haven't had a higher low. Still haven't had a higher high yet. So this is the trade line. This is the area I want to find a short on Aussie Yen. The second one was Aussie Kiwi, again short. I've had a little bit of a look at this since I opened the chart today. And it occurs to me, very, very similar scenario that I've just described on Aussie Yen, in that we're getting higher highs and higher lows. But there's a nice confluence area I see here. A strong level 106.13, let's call it 106, and a very, very early structural form of an ascending channel. I think this is worthy of our attention. So I'm not saying trade it. I'm saying look at it, wait for it. And if it gives you something that you like, then I think that's a really interesting play to trade Aussie Kiwi short. It is also on the monthly chart a bit the other way around, because we've come off the bottom of range. That range, if you should be able to see that fairly clearly, but I'll put it in. It could be anywhere up there, anywhere down here. Pick your highs and pick your lows, however many you want, but they're there. And we have come off the bottom of that range. Therefore, I would be looking for a higher low in here to trade it to the top. So I'm not suggesting that we go all the way down here, but what I am suggesting is that we have got a confluence area. And I think a short-term short, if you like, might be in a consideration, and find a support level then to trade it back to the top of the bigger picture. But for now, you've got plenty of room to play with on Aussie Kiwi short. The third of them, and that doesn't look too good, euro pound at the moment, it wasn't euro pound, it was euro dollar. Euro dollar was one that I was very, very keen to get into. Not necessarily long, could have gone either way, but there was a clear ascending triangle sitting in here. I think I've pointed that out to you. Where? There. Very, very clear ascending triangle. Now, I'm not suggesting that you trade that long just because there's an ascending triangle. What I am suggesting is you look for the signs. When it breaks, you'd be looking for a retest and then go long, or a re-entry and call it a false break. Too hard to trade in there if that was the case. But this could just as easily have gone short as it could go long. And because it's an ascending triangle, you've probably got a little bit of a bias to the high side. I've looked at potential entries for that. I haven't been trading, of course, since Monday. I've been extremely busy, but I did look for potential entries on this. And I think this is a good way to go about you reviewing the week scenarios. Go back and have a look once it's happened and see, well, how could I have traded that with my current system of trading? And my current system of trading is based on daily bars primarily. Monday, it gave me this one. I can't trade that. I've got a monthly pivot dead ahead. I'm right on the top of the range. I can't trade that there. It just doesn't make sense. What I would be waiting for is price to come down here. Did it do that sufficiently to give me a trade? So Monday, it did come down here. Sorry, I'll just make that a little bit wider so it won't go away. On Monday, it did come down. It did break above the weekly pivot, retested it. Did I have an entry? Well, I suppose I did on the hourly chart, in that, if you know my slingshot candle patterns, again, you've got a warning here. Then you've got a clear break. That's a dominator break and therefore tradable. Then you got a little bit of a range, but then it took off. So it was tradable, but you would have to have been in front of the charts at a very, very late hour in the day to trade that on a 1 hourly chart. Could you have traded the pullback to the daily pivot, which didn't take place? My second touch, so probably not for that one. But it was there. You just got to be in the right place at the right time. So I suggest you do this. My watch list, and this was not necessarily the trade of the week, but the position of the week that I wanted to take. It was Aussie Swiss long. And again, I can't see a way that I would have got into that. It's there. Most definitely it happened, but I can't see a way I would have got into that. Certainly not on the 4 hour chart. And I'm just not in front of the charts for the hourlies and the 30 minutes at the moment. Let me get that bounce out of the bloody way. There we go. So we're talking here. That's a nice candle. Didn't come to the weekly pivot, but it would have been nice, obviously, in retrospect. Would have been a beauty. Slingshot, trade line down there. No pullback to it. Trade line through there, too sharp. No, I can't see any way I would have got into that. Again, that comes back to my New Year's resolution, which was, what was my, it's a resignation already. My New Year's resolution, well, one of them, you have a few of them, which was trading levels. Yeah. Trading levels. We've got to talk about that in the show one day, Ash. And we got to kick me off into doing that rather than trading my setups. Not rather than, but in conjunction would be great. But
yeah, I mean,
analysis and levels, interesting.
Yeah, that's what I see. To me, that a level is a setup, and I guess it doesn't suit everybody. But I don't know whether this is true, but the reason that I do trade level is that I won't use leverage, certainly sort of like when I start. So if I don't use leverage, then it doesn't matter if it dips a little bit. If there's later on there's sort of a setup off that level, but let's say it gets the level, it's spiked. Let's say you're looking to go long, it gets the level you want to trade at long, but it spikes down, comes back up and gives you a reversal bar, but I'm already in. Now, the difficulty when you trade levels is where do you put your stop loss? So if you're going down the route of the stop loss, it makes it tricky, I think. Because how do you calculate your risk to reward? But because I'm not trading with a stop loss, my stop loss is a hedge. That's the way I will look at it. I'll go right, but if it gets through that level and flips, then I'll hedge it rather than coming out of the trade. But the only way I think I could do it and sleep at night is by not using leverage. So I'm not sure whether you could do it with a stop loss or not.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a little session on that off camera and get it right for me, for my style. And then we can share it.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay,
Howdy, Paul P.
Nobody's that I can see has said anything about their trading thing. So should we get to the quiz? We are at 8:30, so it is quiz time, and then we'll have a chat with John.
Someone just talked to me. Someone just talked to me. Who was that?
Sorry, Jeff, I thought you said something to me. I was just saying hi.
No, you're Paul B. Paul P. I was just saying howdy to Paul P. That's all. Howdy, Paul B. as well.
Howdy, mate. I'll leave you back to you guys for the quiz.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I don't think I had anything more to add, but I will go back and have a look at that euro pound trade, of course, when we return from the quiz. Hello, John.
Hi. How you doing?
Happy New Year, bud.
And the same to you. It's all good. I can't share the screen.
Well, so far, so good.
Yeah. Host disable participant screen sharing.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can fix that for you. John Moore. There you go. You should be empowered.
Yeah, I'll continue. I'll do that. Share that. Do that. Okay. Nothing dangerous for the first quiz of the year. Nothing.
The way we like it, John.
Nothing dangerous. No brain strain.
Oh, come on.
Well, a little bit. Well, there's a little bit of brain strain, depending on where you might live and what you might read.
You didn't answer the question of the day. Hang on, before. Sorry.
I did actually. I have listened to it before. No, I had listened to it before, but when I did, I was with a couple of mates, and to be fair, we were on the.
You're on the soup. So you
I like that type
of
song. It's just that sometimes, you know, when you got a sense of humour, which just might be a little bit too one side, and yes. You're not quite sure how people are going to go down with it. I kept quiet. I didn't have a response, but I quite like things like that. Okay.
Happy days. Well, anyway, I'll repeat the recommendation. If you haven't listened to it.
It's a classic. I love it.
Cows on Guns. Cows with Guns, guys. You've got to listen to it, right? If you haven't done so. Cows with Guns. That's my tip for the week.
Tip for the week, and it could be an easy point for people. Okay, let's which of the following might you receive as a gift for the Chinese New Year? I did say it was not too bad. It is. We've had the Western New Year. I'm in a part of the world in Malaysia where we celebrate quite a lot of holidays, and we've just gone through one New Year. We're just about to get into the Chinese New Year.
Now, guys, for those of you here for the first time, not only welcome to you. This is a quiz that we hold every Thursday, and Quizmaster John, otherwise known as Jovial John, runs this each and every Thursday. We get about 10 questions, which are multiple choice, thank goodness, because we can get some right that way. You have to type your answers in the chat box to get a point. And it's a self-point keeping exercise. So it's an honest system.
Just a quick note, Paul P, you're sending your answers directly to me at the minute. Paul P's answer was oranges. So Swee sending it directly to me. Hers is oranges as well.
Yeah, Swee should give this one. Yeah, I think on the panel, everyone in the meeting, that's it. It's there now. Next one. Which year in the Chinese calendar is about to be celebrated?
Do you know what I read about this? Now I can't remember.
It was rat last year, wasn't it? I think. Dog. Let's go with that.
Well, to be fair, Ash, if you had some Frosties this morning of the old school, you might got it.
Yeah, do you know what? I remember it's a tiger. I do remember it's a tiger. Yeah. I've written it twice. Oh no! Now I'm sending it directly to Paul P.
It does change all the time. I don't know why. Maybe
I know. I just changed it to everyone, and it's now going to Paul P. Sorry, Paul P. You're sending yours directly to me, and so Sway. You need to change
Oh,
your.
I'm sending mine.
box.
I'm sending mine to Gary.
Are you guys running for the leader of the House in the Democrats? Nancy
Sorry?
Pelosi, insider trading. You guys are doing insider trading, giving you some of the answers.
There's no everyone choice for Paul P. What is going on with Zoom? All right, Paul. I will tell everybody what you've said. Envelopes are exchanged during the Chinese New Year.
Yeah, they are exchanged. Yeah, which colour are they?
This has to be a trick
Just
question,
change the
but I'll
game.
fall
It's a
for it.
slightly trick question there, but they're only
I'll fall
actually
for it.
one colour. Ruby red could be.
Oh, I see why mine changed. Mine's changing when somebody messages me. Mine changes back to directly message that person.
Now I've got mine on everyone.
All right, I'm all right now.
This is a.
Oh, ruby red. Oh gosh, I didn't know there was two ones.
I know. I looked at this question and I might be throwing in a curveball, but actually it's red.
Oh no, should have gone with my first one.
I knew it was a trick question.
Sorry.
Now, a supplementary. Can I ask a supplementary on that question?
You can.
There
I
was
might not be able to give you the answer, but go on.
There was a song. You can put this in next week's if you like. There was a song, and I can't remember but I'll work it out. There was a song about a dress, and it was a ruby red dress, and that was her name. So I need to know who sang the song. That's maybe next week. Sorry, that was a supplement.
Oh, good one, man. Okay, who might be losing their party because they had a party?
We know this.
Yeah, we spoke about this.
Starmer, Boris Johnson, or Jack Daniels?
He's in trouble. He is in trouble.
I'd like to see. I tell you, if he gets out of this and he's still the boss, fair play.
He won't get out of this one, mate. He's not getting out of this one. Do you know? I mean, he might get out of this particular one, but he's not getting. He won't be the party leader by the end of the year. He's the vultures really are closing in and circling on Boris Johnson. He's in trouble. He's in a lot of trouble this time round.
It's not good.
Not even going to last a term.
No. Queen Elizabeth is celebrating 70 years as the monarch of the realm. Something nice for a change. Which of the following represents this?
Well, it's not three, so it has to be one.
Platinum or diamond? Oh yes, I think everybody's in on this one.
That was just process of elimination for me.
Yeah, I can remember silver as a young boy. I can remember waving at the car as he came past. I thought we'd better throw in. We're back to work.
You just gave us a massive hint.
I did. I was teaching online earlier on, so it was a bit like that.
You know, this is my that'll be my trade of the year. Actually, I'll be going for.
I think I'm still messaging Gary. Yeah, I am. I'm pretty good, Gary. Eh? Getting them all right, mate.
Just been used in a world first transplant.
Oh, world first. Okay.
Oh yes, yeah,
got
that one.
I thought it was a move in quite a nice direction.
Let's go with that then. Oh, pigs! I thought the pigs had already been done.
So did I. Maybe successfully as a heart, genetically modified.
Yeah, they're GM. That's right. GM pigs.
Oh, okay.
Which company became the first to hit the 3 trillion stock market value? Not quite sure if they're still there.
Oh, I'm messaging Swee now. Oh, it was Apple. I had Amazon. Don't tell him, Swee.
Was it Apple? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It was Apple. Yeah.
I had Amazon also.
I'm quite glad it wasn't Amazon, to be fair. I'm not that keen on it being Apple either. I quite like my local stores, like I'll have a pot around the shops. Which European country is set to close half of its remaining nuclear power plants at this moment?
Oh,
At this moment.
Ooh.
Yeah, you never know, it might change.
I don't know.
I was very surprised, actually.
sorry, sweet. I'm go with this.
Oh yeah, it keeps changing.
I don't know who's got nuclear power plants.
Germany.
Oh, Germany.
Yeah. Very surprised. France. I'd be amazed if France did it. They're isn't it? Aren't they the one European country that has the most power from nuclear power plants?
I don't know, but you know I mean, there's a big argument over here right now that we haven't got enough energy, and the energy crisis that's going on would have been avoided if there was enough investment throughout the years. This is another thing, you see. This is another thing that has been stacking up on government. And I know it's not this government. It should have been done years ago. But there's lots of things stacking up right now. A lot of questions that why are you spending money here when you should be spending it over here? And energy is a big problem.
Yeah, I'm not against using nuclear power. I was quite surprised with that one. This week's useful question. Obviously, it's the beginning of the year. I haven't thought of any useful ones. Yes, adding the song to the collection. Cows with guns.
Do it, guys. Just do it.
You have to. I didn't write down. I took a small win on the euro US dollar, a bit like Jeff. I had a target and out we went, and I took a win on the euro Swiss franc. I'm out of it now, and I'm like Jeff. I'm in with the euro to rise against the pound.
Yeah, I think that's wise.
Not playing the game at the moment, I've got to tell you.
No, but I'm going to be taking my experience from my long-term trade, the back end of last year with the pound New Zealand trade, and sitting and waiting.
Cool. So you've had 2-0, is that right? 2 and zip?
I'm sorry?
2 and zip this week?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's going okay. As much as it pains me to say it, I think my home country is in a bit of trouble.
It certainly is, mate. It certainly is. So is there any anything you've changed this year, John? Anything you're going to be changing about your approach?
I'm a bit like you. I remember when I had that trade and I was holding it for a long time.
Yeah.
I could still go out walking. I think that I still make mistakes like everybody else, but in March I'll have been doing this for 2 years.
Right.
I've not blown up my own account. I've not gone bananas with the ATW account. And the more I'm patient, and it's difficult. People say you've got to be patient and make good decisions, but it's not until you actually make some of them and see them actually come to fruition that you think, oh, that's what they mean.
Yes.
So I've got a list of objectives and that I've got to meet during the year. So I have my objectives that I want to get, and I look at the things that I need to do to try and get them.
Is it falling into place, John? I mean, you said it's going to be 2 years in March. Are things falling into place, or are we still a little ways off, or are we a little ways off but we are making progress?
I can see that if I can stick to my plans, don't get too hot-headed, and actually apply what I've done in other work. I know it sounds stupid, but I mean, I've got a degree in psychology, so you'd think that I would be able to get some of this under control. But studying it and actually doing it are completely two different things. Like you could be an academic in a university and pretty useless at playing a musical instrument in a gig. It is starting to actually click into place.
That's good. That's good. So, because the reason I asked that is that I think 2 years is quite a nice time period to kind of look back on and say, you know, is it something that you can start to grasp after 2 years? You know, is it something that you could grasp after a shorter period of time? I've been reading this book about the brain recently, and there was some really interesting discoveries found that Einstein had this omega sign in the front of his brain because of the three fingers that he used a lot for violin, and a lot of violin players have the omega sign, and London cab drivers have a certain part of their brain which is elevated and bigger than other parts of their brain.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter, and it's because over a period of time, when you do something and do something and do something, those electric connections start to make that particular part of your brain more active. And I guess the thing about trading is that, you know, people always ask, how long does it take? And really the answer comes down to how much time are you willing to put into it to grab it at the start? Because if you're willing to go, you know, all in and study and analyze charts and do all that stuff, it will take you a lot shorter time. You know, it might even take you very little time. But if you're somebody that is going to go there every, you know, 15 minutes a day and think that you're going to be able to grasp it, then it will potentially take you, I don't know. I mean, I suppose part of the question for you, John, is how long do you put in a day, or how long have you put in per day over the last 2 years to get it to the point where after around 2 years, you're starting to say, now I'm getting a bit more comfortable?
I'm probably now. No, I'm not that I'm sat in front of charts for a long period of time, but I'm probably devoting 2.5 to 3 hours a day.
Brilliant.
At set times.
That's really
good. I've only been doing that at set times with set goals.
Yeah.
Probably since September.
Right.
Now, before that, I was juggling with teaching online.
Right.
And doing lots of different things as well. And to be quite frank, not really doing anything well.
Mm-hmm.
By my own standards. Being a musician, you know what it's like. And I was looking at what I did there, and then I thought, well, hang on, you didn't become this overnight. Now, what did you do to do this? Oh, okay. So what were you doing to do this? And that's it has worked. The other thing, if anybody's new to listening to this show, I think that people should, every now and again, people just drop something that is common sense for you or Jeff or Paul, but for somebody like me who's new, and I go, oh, that's interesting, I'll put that down.
A little nugget was just delivered to you.
It is.
Yes.
And I realised I needed to be consistently doing that. And then the other thing that's changed is that you can see, or I can, that I can make a profit. Doesn't always happen, but I can see it's there. I'm getting it right. What do I need to do to get that? And I'm thinking, right, if I don't actually get this bit right, the profit side will never come.
Yeah. It's a funny thing, isn't it, with the market as well? Because sometimes you see your profit coming and go, geez, that was easy. That was obvious. You know, and
I'm Superman. I can do anything. Yes.
Well, yeah. Well, but there's that, and there's also the fact that you almost don't trust the obvious, because you know, things become like that short on the Nasdaq. It got to the point on the Nasdaq that it just tanked after Jerome Powell released the minutes. After they released the minutes, the Nasdaq absolutely tanked. And when you say it like that, it's kind of obvious, you know, it's an obvious kind of reaction after you sort of see the minutes like that. But in some respects, you almost doubt that can happen because it's so obvious that you sort of, you know, but I think over time, what happens is that you are able to look at these situations and pinpoint, it's that one, it's probably that one, it's probably that one. And that's sort of something that happens with experience. Just like setups. You just said it. You just said the word that I wrote down before Christmas: experience. Yeah. And that I can't go and get that like off the shelf. Yeah. I tried to explain.
Yeah, it's not a plug-in, is it?
It's not a plug-in. Yeah. And I thought, well, how can I get that? I was like, okay, there's a Monday, there's a Thursday, trying to do some of these things. And I went back over the information that I've got over the last 2 years. But for me, I am still learning the business, but I know by March I'll have done 2 years and I'm still here.
Yeah.
I've not blown up my accounts. Okay.
Well, the really important part about that, getting from there to where you are now, is that you had systems to rely on.
Yeah. Oh, without doubt.
That's super important. Yeah.
My little crypto journey's gone well. I wouldn't have got that if I wasn't in the show, because I wouldn't have seen.
Come on, own up. That's your wife. That's not you, right?
Oh, well, no, she started it first. Yes, with Bitcoin because she needed to make a transaction using Bitcoin. So she's the first one in the family to do the transaction using crypto. But yeah, it's.
Well, you're doing far better than me to unravel that crypto mystery. I just can't.
I had my sort of play. I don't do NFTs. I don't do metaverse or anything like that. I've got governance coins that might be used in future payment systems. That's it.
I think that's quite nice, mate. I think it's nice in a way to kind of like pick your area in the crypto market and stick to it. I think that there's somebody like Shukri, who has just got so much knowledge that he can flip between one area of crypto to another. But I think for most people, to try and attempt to do that without guidance, without any kind of guidance, is probably going to lead you down a pretty difficult path. I've got friends I've introduced to crypto, and they're texting me about cryptocurrency I've never heard of, asking me, what do you think about this? And I'm like, I haven't got a clue. I'm like you. I stick to my area. I know a certain amount about a certain area of cryptocurrencies, and I stick to that. And I try not to kind of over leverage myself and try not to kind of get too drawn into it, because I haven't got time. I haven't got time to become proficient.
I don't trade them. Yeah, I don't trade them.
Well, there you go. You've just described, many of the components that you need to be a successful trader. One of them is you have to trade what suits your lifestyle. Yeah. The other one is you have to trade what suits your personality.
Yeah.
Be it, a high risk tolerance or otherwise. And the third one is you have to find a system that you either develop by yourself as a result of what you've been exposed to. Certainly with Actions to Wealth, you're exposed to multiple strategies. And sorry, John, I'll take the screen away from you. Yeah. And getting to that point is reliant on all of those things.
Oh, it is. I mean, the one thing I always remember is making a decision. One rainy night in KL, and the reason that I did it was the advert that came up. So, there's a Kiwi speaking. Okay, I'll go for that. And that was the start of my journey. And the reason that it was, I've got friends who are Kiwis, and they come in. The ones that I know are, they're hard talkers. They can do what they say they can do. And I thought, I will go and check this out. So for me, the pandemic had if you can take a positive out of a negative, I'm very fortunate to have done it.
I think that I think there's been quite a lot of positives with this pandemic. There's obviously been a lot of negatives too, but I think there's been quite a few positives with it, and that is one of those things, is that people slowed down. They slowed down and sort of maybe took a look at their life. I mean, certainly I did, and went, okay, you know what? This is what's important, and this is the way that I can do things differently. You're not rushing from here to to one point to another, because travel is really taken out the equation. So you save a bit of time there in itself. But I actually think that a lot of people learned stuff about themselves and about the way they wanted to do things because of the pandemic. It's not been all bad, I don't think.
No, I work online now. Other people contact me. I don't have to go.
Yeah. I mean, it does accelerate the development of companies that are able to utilize the online scenario and the internet and technology, which is, I mean, who knows where we're going with that? But that's a conversation for another day, and I suspect it's probably going to get a little bit scary. I mean, Jeff, you're saying about not understanding cryptos. The next thing coming, I think, is going to be even more complicated. The metaverse, for one,
OMG.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'll close my ears. Don't want
yeah.
to know.
Yeah. Anyway, let's wrap it up. We got 5 minutes before the end of the show. Thanks so much, John, for the quiz as always.
You're very kind.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
And do you want to wrap up any trades for the week, Jeff?
Look, I'm now going to keep my eyes very, very firmly on the pairs against the dollar. Just like we spoke before, if I look at the dollar index, and I'll go back there to the dollar index. That is not the dollar index. It's there. I can't see properly. I still believe that is at I'll call it an inflection point. And if it goes below here, then this rally that we're seeing against the dollar will continue. However, we'll talk about this on Monday. Remember the old symmetry trick that I pull out of the bag every now and then, and I spoke about this cycle may well be over. This cycle of this side equals this side. It may well be over because we are at that point. This is now the proof of that pudding. When I say it's proving it, it's not yet proven it, but if it breaks below this level and stays below this level on a meaningful time frame, and I'm talking about 4-hour chart daily, if it stays below that level, then I think we're back down here somewhere to whatever I said before, 92.20 or something. However, if you can find a reason for this to bounce here, or however you get into the market, I'll certainly be looking for either a double bottom and a higher low or something like that. False break of support. It certainly doesn't look as though this is going long anytime soon, I've got to say. That said, you look at the obvious choice, which is euro dollar. I can't see that going short anytime soon. However, we do have an untested daily pivot under here, and we know that there is a strong chance, especially after yesterday wasn't tested as well, there's a strong chance that at some time today, that daily pivot will be tested. And again, if I'm looking for a double bottom and a higher low on the dollar index, then I'm looking for a double top and a lower high on euro dollar. And the same it'll be a same trade, pound, euro, Aussie, or maybe not. Commodity currency is a little bit different, but they'll all be very, very similar. It's a dollar trade. It's nothing more than a dollar trade. So if you see a reason to go short here, then I think that's the player that I would like to take today against the dollar. Not committed to the direction, I've got to say. Not committed to the scenario at this point. But if I do see the sign, double top, bearish engulfing bar, head and shoulders on a smaller time frame, something like that, followed up by a lower high, I think the trade to the daily pivot is perfectly valid. Don't just go, okay, untested daily pivot, let's enter short. Doesn't work that way often. Get the setup and then trade it if it comes. But again, because it's strong momentum to the upside, you need to control your risk on that as well. Yeah. So I think that's my message for the day, mate. Euro pound is under entry, obviously struggling a little bit there. It's got to get through that trade line. Otherwise, we're in a bit of bother. And everything else, I think I've been through. Nothing else to report, I don't think.
Okay, but extremely, a very, very quiet market so far today. So we'll see what happens in the US session. But the FTSE trade is where we at. Pretty much at entry. So anybody's looking at the FTSE trade, you're flat, and it looks quiet. You know, the movements in the markets look very minuscule, and I don't see a major driver at this point in time. I suppose PPI data from the United States later on is an inflation number. Unemployment claims is obviously a labour market number. Brainard speaking later on, but aside from that, they will probably edge the market one way or the other. We're in an extremely tight range right now of what looks like around about 0.2%. So I would expect that there's going to be some kind of movement, but at this stage, pretty quiet. So I'm holding on to the short, and we will see if we get a little bit of profit towards the end of the week now.
Okay, happy days. And there we shall wrap it, guys. And thank you very, very much for your company for Monday and this Thursday, which is nearly halfway through January already. My goodness, where does it go? Before long, we'll be saying it's Easter, and then it's Christmas again. But there's still cows with guns, and they're out there coming for you. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll look forward to catching up on Monday. Thanks for being our trading buddies. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.